listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me here on YouTube for the Daily African Proverbs, and thank you for joining me on Clubhouse as well for the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I am in Seattle, Washington, and I am excited for today's conversation. Our conversation today is being recorded for the African Father in America podcast, which is available across all podcasting platforms. And today, our proverb is going to be from Equatorial Guinea. Our proverb is from Equatorial Guinea. I am going to share it in just a moment, but I want to welcome you all who have joined me for this conversation. Let me try and navigate back to this screen. I was elsewhere, just setting up for today's conversation. Welcome, Sarah. And I also see that we have, a couple of other friends joining us here on YouTube and also on Clubhouse. I'm always excited to be here for the Daily African Proverbs, especially because with each proverb that we discuss, the hope is that we live with some wisdom, And today's conversation is based on this amazing Equatorial Guinea proverb that says that two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. Two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. What is it that... I received a phone call there unexpectedly. What is it that comes to your mind when you hear this proverb from Equatorial Guinea? Two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. This proverb can be applied in real life situations where you're being faced with an emergency. At the same time, you also have, people that you have to ask permission from that do not agree with the decisions that you have to make, or people that you actually have to collaborate with. You cannot do without them, So how do you engage them in a productive manner so that you still have time that will enable you to, to meet the expectations of the situation that is before you? So I want you to think about this as we begin our conversation today. Just think about, is there an actual fire that you're trying to escape from, and who is around you at that time? Is there a situation in life that you're trying to, deal with, and who is it that is with you, or what other situations are you facing at that same time that might distract you from the real problem that you're faced with? So as we begin our conversation together, I want to invite you, if you're watching, make sure you share the link to this YouTube live stream. And also, if you are listening on Clubhouse, like Sarah and Monique, take a moment and invite 2 or 3 friends to join us for this conversation. Again, my name is Simon Okello, and today for the Daily African Proverbs, we have an amazing Equatorial Guinea proverb. I'm going to share the proverb here in a moment. I just want to invite you both to the stage when you can, and I'm also going to just take a minute and invite a few friends and family here to join us for this conversation as well. Whenever we are here for the Daily African Proverbs, I also know that we are recording these sessions for podcasts, and every episode that we record here, after every conversation that we have, I usually listen to. I've formed an habit of listening to the episode from this conversation every day, and it's always really, really enriching. So I encourage you to do the same. Make sure you subscribe to the African Father in America podcast on Apple Podcast, and also on Spotify. We are available across all podcasting platforms. Again, the proverb today says, two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. This proverb also speaks about parenting, and it speaks about leadership, who is it that you are parenting with, and what fire is in the house that you need to pay more attention to, instead of letting your ego or the urge to win in arguments block your vision or your view of what is really going on. This proverb can be applied to many different situations, and I can't wait to hear your own perspectives as well of what is it that comes to your mind when you read this proverb, when you hear someone say, two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. What is it that comes to your mind? So we want to learn a little bit from Stella, of course, who is with us on stage, and Monica and Lavender, but we want to invite you all who are in the room on Clubhouse but not on the stage yet to take a minute, join us on the stage. And also, if you're listening, take a minute and share the link to the room on Clubhouse and outside of Clubhouse, and join us on YouTube. The link at the top of the room is the link that will bring you to my YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, this is a good time for you to do that as well. Thank you all. Let's hear from you, Stella. When you hear this proverb from Equatorial Guinea, what is it that comes to your mind? Two men in a burning house must not stop to argue.
Thank you, Simon. My speaker was on the whole time. Hi, everyone. I hope you are okay. Today's proverb that is talking about a burning house and two men. It means, just like you said, Simon, about parenting and leadership. I was just thinking about parenting, how parenting is, I think it's the most difficult job for an adult, because you're always solving a case, so you're always encouraging. And sometimes it's really tough because you don't know if you're doing it the right way, but you just keep on pressing. Again, there's a saying in Swahili that says, okay, I'm not good with Kiswahili, I'm good with Luo, but it says something about grass and pahali wawili wamekutana nyasi inaumia, something like that. So I think it's just warning us. The proverb is just warning us to be cautious and tread carefully, especially when things are tough, and when you keep pushing them hard, then hell can break loose. I've always told my friends and my family about how the devil loves a noisy place, because sometimes I remember long time ago, our parent was scolding one of us, and she kept going on and on and on, and my sister was just so, she felt so bad about it, because to her it was unfair, and my mom was kind of so hard on her, and it was just too chaotic, and it was noisy and messy. And then what followed later in the night, when people were sleeping, thieves came in, and the only thing that they stole was some cash. They took her bag, my mom's bag, and the bag had cash, and that cash, it was some loan that she was going to use for something very important the following day. So I started looking at it deeply. I was like, because she just kept the bag next to the window, and the window didn't have like a safe lock. So it was just easy for someone to open and pick up the bag and go with it. So I was looking at it deeply and I was saying, if she didn't have this fight with my sister, then she would have remembered to put her bag in a safe place so that no one would pick it up in the night. No, the thief would not come. So I was also wondering how the thief just knew that she had some money in the bag and they simply came for the bag. Yes, so the proverb, just the way it says that people should not keep fighting because it might burn down the whole house. So I I love to go. I love to go, but
Yeah.
that's how I look at it. Thank you, Simon.
Yes, it's incredible. It's definitely incredible what you're saying, and also the way you're saying that the devil loves noisy places. You know, it was just incredible listening to you describe that, because when this proverb reminds me a lot about when two sons are fighting over inheritance, a stranger inherits. There's a proverb that says that a stranger inherits their father's wealth or something like that. There are many proverbs that now I'm thinking of, and I just appreciate you.
Simon.
Yes. Go ahead, Monica.
Oh no, write that one down for the next room because that one's great too. So there's a Bible proverb too. Don't worry about the splinter in your neighbor's eye when you have a log in yours. And that's what the two men in a burning house must not argue reminds me of is we can be petty, we can be malevolent, we can watch for the flaws of everyone else. But it's only when we take care of our business, our responsibility, handle our stuff, that we can enact positive change in ourselves, our family, our friends, and our community. So, what happens when the two men are arguing in the burning house? They both die. Whereas if they spend a minute, realize we're more alike than different, and work together to put the flames out, then maybe the whole village would be saved. So thank you for this proverb. I think it's excellent, and I needed to hear it today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Monica. I agree with what you're saying. And definitely we should line up the proverbs I was speaking about for a future conversation for sure. I want to welcome everyone to the Daily African Proverbs. This conversation is being recorded for the African Father in America podcast, and we are on Clubhouse in the African Father in America club. So if you haven't joined the club, make sure you do that, and also nominate one, 2, 3, maybe 5 people for this conversation. This is a really incredible space that we get to enjoy and build together every Monday to Friday. We meet here 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are also live on YouTube, and we have a growing community over there as well. If you want to tap in and stay connected, subscribe to the channel. The link is at the top of the Clubhouse room. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you push the thumbs up button so that when you are live again tomorrow, YouTube notifies you. Today, our conversation is grounded on an amazing proverb from Equatorial Guinea. It says, 2 men in a burning house must not stop to argue. We want to listen to your words of wisdom. So if you want to join us on stage, please do. We would love to hear your voices. I want to invite Lavender. Lavender, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from? And when you hear this Equatorial Guinea proverb, what is it that comes to your mind? Thank you so much.
Hello, Simon. Hi, everyone. Simon, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. My name is Lavina. I'm speaking from Kenya. My thoughts about today's proverb Two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. What comes to my mind when I read this proverb is that whenever there's any issue between two or more people, it's best to focus on the issue. The other person is not the enemy. What's causing the problem is, and that should be the focus. And I feel like fire is being used as what do I call it? Like fire is being used as an example of a problem where you shouldn't stop to argue when the house is burning. So you focus on the problem instead of the person you're caught in that situation with. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah, Lavin, I love that. I wish politicians thought like that, or I wish they read this proverb, because then they would not focus on their political parties, which side they're leaning towards, how much money they want to make while they're in office. They will only think about the people, and the country or the nation, but that's really not what they do. So I really love focusing on the issue, not other people, not looking for people to blame or not looking for excuses. I truly appreciate that. Kay, how are you doing today? Thank you again for joining us. Share with us your perspectives as well in regards to today's proverb from Equatorial Guinea. For the sake of those who are just joining us, the proverb says that two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. Share with us your thoughts, Kay.
Hey, it's definitely talking about how division can kill and unity can save. And it's also indicative of a tendency for petty disagreements to spiral out of control to the detriment of losing focus on your surroundings. It's a nice saying there.
Excellent. I agree. It's I think this proverb also speaks about awareness, just deepening your awareness and looking at what's going on around you and prioritizing whether you want to focus on it or what you want to focus on what's going on even inside you internally. I think earlier on, and even yesterday, we spoke a lot about yesterday's proverb actually said that when one hand is cut, the whole body feels the pain. And it's really connected to today's proverb because it speaks to how everything is really connected. Everything is really connected. Debbie, how are you doing today? Where are you joining us from? And also, what are your perspectives on this beautiful proverb?
Greetings and appreciation to all. Debbie Berlin, Game Dev Debbie, joining from Maryland near DC. This proverb makes me think of two concepts. The first is world love and unity. For example, as we take care of our house, which is our planet Earth, it's our mutual home, regardless of our countries or whatever other lines we may draw on an artificial map. This is our home planet, and we have to take care of it. So that goes towards pollution and, just creating more eco-friendly solutions. We have to do it together as a world love global family, number one. Number two, I think of this on a personal level with the masculine and feminine energies within us all and creating that balance and walking in that balance and finding that happy medium. Because in order to take care of our body, our spirit, our true selves, we have to balance. We have to balance the yin and the yang and the masculine and the feminine and everything from within. Not to fight from within, but to find balance and harmony. And that also extends externally as well to others. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Debbie. I appreciate that. When you find balance within, you'll be able to find balance, outside. I love that. I want to, just welcome everyone who is just joining us for the Daily African Proverbs. Our conversation, the theme of our conversation is really making the most of every minute, and paying attention to what's going on around you and making quick decisions, thinking about the impact that your decisions are going to have around you, on the people that, you love, and on your community, on your pockets, so it's a beautiful conversation that we're having. If you haven't joined us on stage before, take a minute, and I think you'll really, really appreciate it. I'm confident that you'll leave with something that will uplift you and also inspire you in a way that you will be able to apply something you learn in this room in your own life. So now we want to move on to my brother Brother Earth. How are you doing today? And when you hear this proverb, what is it that comes to your mind?
Peace and love to you, Simon, and all of the village. I'm calling from the North Carolina territory. And when I first hear the proverb, the first thing I think about is one of my teachers, one of his favorite lines is he asks, "What is an argument?" And his definition for an argument is a discussion between two fools. And of course, if you fighting in the middle of a burning house, that's quite foolish. But as you go to a deeper level in it, there's an old saying, pick and choose your battles wisely, and there's a time and a place for everything. You know, when both of y'all looking to lose, why would you pick to choose a fight then? That's real crazy. And just knowing that you're not gonna really gain nothing from arguing in the middle of a burning house. You got more to lose than you do win. So again, like you were saying, Simon, just being mindful and aware of your surroundings and what's going on. Peace and love to you and all the family.
Peace and love to you, Brother Earth. I love that. And, what you said inspired another idea that we should wrap up our session with today, where I just want you to think about one or two tips in regards to what is it that you do when you have to, reduce the time that you're spending in an argument. What is, one or two tips that you might give someone who is watching or listening to our conversation today? That if you find yourself in a situation where you are what this proverb is describing, then what do you do in order for you to move forward and be more productive? Again, if you're just joining us, our proverb today is from Equatorial Guinea, and it says, 2 men in a burning house must not stop to argue. What is it that comes to your mind when you hear this proverb? Let's hear from Stephen. Thank you very much for being here. Share with us where you're joining us from, what this proverb means to you, and let us know how you're doing as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Simon. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen, joining from Kisumu, Kenya. I'm doing very well. It's pretty warm today, and that's how it is from our end in Kisumu. Today's proverb is an interesting one to me personally, and what comes to my mind when I go through the proverb is focusing my energy on the right thing at the right time, and making the most out of the time I have with the energy that I have at that given time. For this case, 2 men in a burning house must not stop arguing. You can imagine how much energy I will be spending arguing than compared to the energy I'll be putting on trying to put out the fire in the burning house. So it's better to put my energy to salvage or try to put out that fire from the burning house than argue while the house is being scorched to ashes. Thank you. That's my take for this proverb, Simon. Back to you.
Wonderful, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate that. It, as you are speaking, it also, reminds me that this proverb speaks to prioritizing, and you describe that really well. I appreciate you for being here. And I want to welcome Sambaza. I want to welcome Digital Humanitarian on the stage. I can't wait to hear from you both. Incredible leaders in our community, in our global African community. Sambaza, please prepare to share with us how we can support you. You are recently nominated for an award, your podcast. So I would love for you to speak about that. And then, Digital Humanitarian, I would also love to just create more time for you to speak about how you are doing with your current endeavor, doing digital, running the digital campaign aspects of, one of the biggest presidential candidates in Kenya, someone that, is a legend in Kenya, and also someone who has shaped the way that Kenya is as a country, especially when you look at the democracy in Kenya, when you look at the infrastructure in Kenya. So, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about what you're currently doing. I think we are both doing some exciting things. For now, I want to welcome everyone who is joining us on YouTube. Thank you all so much. Make sure you take a minute and subscribe to the channel. And if you are joining us here on Clubhouse, make sure you join the African Father in America Club, so that when we host these sessions, which is Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you are notified, and we can continue building this incredible community. At this moment, I want to invite you, Sambaza. The proverb we are discussing says that two men in a burning house must not stop to argue. What is it that comes to your mind when you hear this proverb from Equatorial Guinea? Share with us that, and then let us know where you're joining us from, and also your current incredible growth in terms of podcasting and the award ceremony that is coming up, but also how we can all support you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Simon. It's been a while since I've been up here, but I've been coming in listening, and shout outs to everyone that's here listening to the proverb. The proverb actually talks a lot about what we discussed the past weekend. We met with a group of podcasters, actually diaspora podcasters, and we're talking about how we can bridge the gap between between people, having relationships between Africans and African Americans and the rest of the races. And this is the same thing that applies. We have to look at what binds us together first, not looking at there's some things that are around us that at that time are not necessary to start focusing on. We need to focus on the right things at the right time, and thereby getting in, to make these connections. So, like the way you are in a burning house, two people arguing. Why should we argue? Let's fix what the fire is. Then we can have a discussion later. Maybe at that time when we finished going ahead and kill out the fire, we might find that we do have a certain way of doing things that might bring us together. And instead of the argument continuing, we might sit and have a discussion as to what we could do to better ourselves. So that's what the proverb got me thinking about today. And as I go doing this, I just got into 2 years of my podcasting, and I got nominated for a podcasting award, actually Diaspora Podcast Award. It came as a surprise, and all you have to do is go ahead and vote for me. It is on apva.africa/votings, and then you select the Diaspora Podcast of the year, and I am there as Sambaza Podcast. And I'd appreciate you guys if you went in and voted, and hopefully we'll come out with something. But just to be nominated and to be recognized as a podcast in the diaspora is great. Shout outs to Digital Humanitarian, whose podcast is currently running at this time, and he dropped a whole bunch of knowledge. And I'm yet to hear your podcast on Ikonini. I just saw it the other day. But all in all, Simon, I do appreciate the fact that you brought me in and helped me, learn the ropes with podcasting, and also teach me, all these things that need to be taught in podcast, and introduce me to a great community out here. So with that, I don't want to speak much, and I want to say thank you all, and we'll be discussing. Hopefully, I'll come back with better news. The news itself of being nominated is great. Better news would be having that award, as I say. Thank you, Simon, and I yield the mic.
Beautiful. Congratulations. A win is a win, and I would love to host you sometime during this nomination period as a guest so that we can even go a little deeper and engage the community in supporting you. So connect with me directly, or Lavender or Stella, and then they can share with you more information of how we can make that happen. And also really Lavender and Stella and Steve, I want to thank you all for the incredible work you do to make this conversation possible, and for everything else you do for One Vibe. Now I want to come to you, Digital Humanitarian. Just take the moment, share with us how you're doing, what this proverb from Equatorial Guinea means to you. It says, 2 men in a burning house must not stop to argue. And also share with us your work, the work you're doing currently, and what's most exciting about it for you, and speak about what's frustrating about it as well, and really how we can all support you and make you successful in what you do.
Thanks so much, Simon. Good afternoon from Nairobi. My name is Philip Ogola, the Digital Humanitarian, and it's always it's always refreshing just to join the Daily African Proverb. Before I talk about my work, let me just unpack the proverb. I think when they say 2 men, it means that men are the pillar of society, and at times we as men need to put aside our egos, where we are both flexing muscles, measuring our balls, and just find ways of how we can actually work together and bring solutions to, in our societies. When you look at the proverb critically and align it with the current life, there's so many scenarios which need us to work together,
I think digitally.
And I can give an example. Sorry, I actually got a phone call. Let me just put my phone on divert. Just 1 sec.
No problem. Thank you so much. Carry on.
I had forgot about phone calls coming in. I'm actually at a clinic. I'm actually at an eye clinic. I'm just having my eyes checked out, and I saw a notification of you guys going live, and I was like, let me tap in. So, like I was saying earlier, that proverb is very deep. It actually shows that, especially we men, in times of crisis, we need to just work together, put aside our egos, and build a foundation for for the society.
Yeah, I agree. What Digital Humanitarian?
For example, when you're looking at something like mental health, if you cannot tackle mental health alone, and you need to have people around you who you can, help distress and stuff. So, and I can give an example of you, Sambaza and Simon. As men, we've both sat down virtually. We've not met, by the way, but you guys have, during my crisis, you guys sat me down and listened to me, gave me a listening ear, and that to me was the fire which you actually helped put out. And it shows how when we listen to each other, and when I say listen, it's not listening by the ear, is listening to each other even when we are quiet, And that's something which I have seen from Sambada and Simon, where they can actually just reach out. I'm like, hey, how are you doing? How are you progressing? And if they know that you are down, they actually put everything aside and they're like, hey, are you okay? Can we do 1, 2, 3, 4? And that's now the purpose of that proverb. It shows that when, in terms of a crisis, we need to put aside our egos, our career progressions, our tribal affiliations, our geographical, spectrums, and just sit and see how can we do. And that's a perfect example. When I was down, my house was on fire. Sambaza listened to me. Like you used to reach out to me every day. Simon, we spent time planning the Africa Day, the first Africa Day. I used to crash, but he used to, give me a listening ear, guide me, and just, and that is how that proverb works, where we put aside our egos and pride as men, and just listen to each other, and that's the essence of the proverb. So I think as a society, we need to put aside our career progressions, economic muscle, race and everything, and just be human, and the more we listen to each other, the more we learn and learn from each other. To me, that I think that proverb is, and someone I keep telling you, every time I come to your room, those proverbs are very deep, and they actually, I only keep saying that our ancestors actually knew that we will not listen, so they spoke to us in very cryptic ways, where we have to think for us to actually unlock some of these things. And I can really relate to this proverb, where if we both argue when there's a crisis, we are not going to help anyone. In fact, we're actually going to create more problems for our families, for the society and stuff. So it really shows that in terms of crisis, there's no point of arguing. It's just putting aside our egos and see what can we do together, how can we work together and support each other. I think that's my interpretation of the day. To answer your second question is, I'm leading the digital campaign for the presidential candidate in Kenya, Raila Odinga. So, and it's really exciting coming in from a humanitarian perspective, where you get to see the other side of life, and then now moving into politics and getting to see how policies and framework can actually help inform policy change. And also another thing, you also get to learn that politics is not geocentric. It's just about Kenya only. It's now about Pan-African, where you have to look at it from a Pan-African level, from a global level, from a creative level, from a from a different ecosystem. So that's what I'm learning. I'm learning that as Africans, at times you have to step up the ladder and be part of change. As in, gone are the days where you just rant on social media or protests or do riots. It's for you to bring change in your country, you must be part of the table. You must earn a seat on the table. And I think, I hope that probably maybe my 1-2 cents will actually help inform or bring a change in the country. Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's well said. I should not add anything to that. I do want to keep you and Sambaza on the stage, and also Stephen and everyone else on the stage. I want to hear what tips you have for our viewers and our listeners when it comes to a situation where you find yourself in an argument. Today's proverb says, 2 men in a burning house must not stop to argue. If you are in a burning house, instead of arguing, run as fast as your legs can carry you. If you're in a situation where you have some deadlines to meet, and you're still trying to prove something to someone else that impacts that deadline, you have choices to make, whether to focus on that deadline or to focus on winning an argument or looking good, or you just have to prioritize what is most important. That has been the theme of our conversation today, making the most of every minute. But now we want to just share 1 tip or 2 tips to our viewers and listeners. What is it that you do? Let's start with Stella. What is it that you do that helps you move on from arguments. Even, you don't have to completely solve every argument or every situation that you find yourself in, but sometime there's something that you do that we can all learn from that helps you move on without also burning bridges. Share with us just briefly, Stella, as we go towards the end of our conversation today.
Thank you, Simon. This is Stella again from Kenya. And what I usually do when I'm in an argument is quite funny. if someone is arguing with me on the phone, I put it on mute, and then I leave the phone in another room. Then I go to the other room. Then I'll come back and take the phone later. I don't know if that is bad or good, but it works for me because I don't want to have a bad day arguing. And then if it's a situation where I'm in the same room with someone whom we are arguing, I simply walk away. I keep quiet and walk away. And I think I walk away most of the time. I run away from those troubled and heated arguments. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's bad because you don't end up solving it, so it keeps coming. But I think I don't like arguing, so it works for me partly. Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible. Bob Marley had this saying that he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. So sometimes it's okay to take a break from the fight, from the situation that you're faced with, and then come back and face it with a more clear mind. How you take that break, I think if you are in the middle of talking to someone and then you mute it and walk away, I think that fire will be burning for a long time, and you'll have to work harder to put it out. So how you take your break, finding ways of still being respectful, but and also, depending on the situation, the way that you respond to it, every one of us is going to be interesting. This is why I asked this question. Let's go to Lavender and hear. Lavender, just give us one tip in regards to, what is it that you do to help you move forward when you feel like you're not being listened to? Okay. Lavender, I'll move forward to Kay, and whenever you're ready, just let me know. Kay, share with us just briefly your perspective on this part of the conversation. What is it that you do that helps you move on from a situation that is more like an argument?
If it's definitely, if I recognize it, I don't always recognize, depending on how triggered I am, but I try as I'm growing older. I think I'm getting better at recognizing if it's starting to spiral. And when I do, then I try to say, let's just put this in the parking lot and come back to it. And I try to establish that if I think we're going into something that might trigger that type of event, I try to establish that as a ground rule. Like, we can both say it. It's not that we're insulting each other. It's just that we both have the ability to say, okay, let's just stop talking about it. It doesn't mean we'll never return to it. It just we have to stop for now. So I kind of like that as sort of a ground rule when going into the difficult conversations.
Yeah, I appreciate that totally. Just developing the skills so that you sense when it's time to take a break. It's time to put the conversation on the side and move on. Debbie, what do you think? What's one tip that you could share?
So it's helpful to see behind the mask of the argument born from anger born from fear born from pain. Address the root with compassion, empathy, and try to build a bridge of commonality. Example, the proverb, the common goal is the fire, or some relatable factor of our humanity. If we punch a wall, We also hurt our hand. If we punch a punching bag, we can control the direction of it. Like a martial artist, transfer that energy towards the light, towards the positive, towards the good. Thank you.
I love that. I love how you spoke about it in terms of channeling the energy, directing the energy that you have. You could use it in whichever way that you feel that is most productive. I appreciate that, Brother Earth. What's your tip? What's your tip of for those who are listening and watching? Just the one tip you'd give when it comes to getting out of a situation that is not comfortable.
Hey, peace and love, family. This is Brother Earth again from the North Carolina territory. And my granddaddy used to all the time tell me, you wasting your time arguing with fools, you're not going to win. So, kind of in agreements with a lot of the other people, sometimes I shut down, or other times I might agree with what they saying. I'll be like, okay, yeah, you're right, you can have this. Or if I feel like somebody arguing with me trying to get under my skin, I just start laughing at it. You know what I mean? To let them, I can't let it bother me or affect me. So, opposed to them feeling like they under my skin or they got one up, I just laugh at it. And that's the way I deal with arguing, opposed to tangling my energy up in it, because it's a wise quote says also, you never should argue with a fool because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. So I'll come in love and I'll leave in peace, Brother Earth.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you're listening and if you're watching, I hope you're taking some notes, because there's really some gems and words of wisdom that are being shared right now. I want to come to you, Steve. Just share with us briefly your own tips when it comes to how do you walk away from a situation that is becoming a little toxic.
Thank you, Simon, for having me again. But when it comes to such a situation, I first evaluate the situation, because there are two kinds of arguments. There are positive arguments and there are negative arguments. Positive arguments bear fruits, while negative arguments take too much of energy, and sometimes they're even killing morale. And to some extent, they even kill vision. So when I come to a case where the argument is negative, I respectfully walk out of the situation. I just switch off respectfully, excuse myself, and give myself some business to do that can positively add value in me. Personally, that is what I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. You all have shared really some great tips, and earlier on, you've also all contributed, in an amazing way to our conversation today. As we are just getting one tip from each of the speakers on stage, I just quickly want to, give a quick shout out to Taleni, who just joined us, Johnny, Jay, Dominique, Roger, Aphrodite, Adir, and also Mag and Sarah and Michelle and Monica and Coach, who are joining us and just listening and on Clubhouse. Tomorrow we would love to see you all again, and we would love to hear your voices if you didn't have a chance to speak today. On YouTube there's also Kay Benjamin and RMHTV. Thank you all for joining us over there. Now, we are continuing with the final bit of our conversation today, and I want to hear your tip, Sambaza. What is it that you do that helps you leave situations that are too argumentative?
Thank you, Simon. Excuse me. It's very interesting that I've never met Stella, and actually somehow we share the same kind of idea. I remember when I was working at call centers, and you'd have people coming and screaming at you on the phone. And at times when you hear the screams, you are trying to figure out, not screams, but they'd be belligerent. You try to figure out whether it's really at you, or is something behind the scenes that's causing them to call. Maybe their service is not working and blah blah blah. Anyway, bottom line is, I used to either mute, or I'd just set my headphones down and then give it like maybe a minute, let them talk and rant as much as they can. And then from time to time, just pick up the phone and listen. And then when they come and say, okay, I don't want to hear what they're saying, it gives you a peace of mind. And that's the same thing, like you kind of walk away. Generally speaking, and this is, I just want to make it short, the fact that you can, if you have a way out at that moment to kind of stop you from responding. You can start responding as hard as quickly as you can, and not realize that you could also be projecting your own issues to the person on that particular fight. So best case scenario is just try and avoid it, and then think back at the situation. If it's something that can be revisited, revisit it again, and then have a discussion, not an argument. At that time, it could be an argument, and you're not going to get to each other. As people say, brother said, if you're arguing with a fool, they'll bring you down to their level, and with experience, they're going to make you do that. Some people are prone to doing such things. They will want to argue and keep arguing with you, and you cannot beat that. It's experience. So let me end that way and say thank you again for allowing me to speak.
Fantastic. Let's hear from you, digital humanitarian, as well. What is it that you could give someone as a tip that can help them move away from a situation that is not good for them? And I do know that digital humanitarian was at an eye doctor, so if you can't talk, that's totally fine. Lavender, we didn't hear from you. Do you want to contribute to this part of the conversation? Do you have one tip that you want to share? I just want to make sure I create space for you.
Thank you so much, Simon. There's a lot that has been said and that I've learned from this, how to deal with toxic situations. And I appreciate Sambaza mentioned you remove yourself. There's no need to argue with a fool. I'd say I'm always very watchful of situations I involve myself with. So, and there's some unavoidable circumstances, just like we talked about, Stella mentioned, when you're dealing with some clients, and there are unavoidable circumstances that may come up. I've learned to keep quiet, however much irritating this situation is, because I usually tell myself I'm just going to see this person for 5 minutes or have this conversation with this person for 5 minutes. So however much they try to push me, I'll try my best to put myself together, get done with that, and I don't have to see them again. And the other big thing that we talked about is walking away. Walking away without justifying anything, just walk away. Thank you, Simon. I'm grateful.
Wonderful. Lavender, I deeply appreciate what you had to say there. Walking away. Very hard to do, by the way. I want to invite you, if you're joining us for the Daily African Proverbs on Clubhouse for the first time, one way that you can stay in touch with a lot of the work I do is by following me on Clubhouse, if you're on Clubhouse. And I do a lot of my content creation and sharing of the things that are up for me on Instagram. So if you want to really stay engaged with me, connect with me on Instagram, it's tied to my Clubhouse profile. And also, if you want to join me on YouTube, we are live streaming this conversation as we speak. The link is at the top of the room on Clubhouse. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel when you get there. Now, our conversation today has been grounded on an amazing proverb from Equatorial Guinea. There's something that Digital Humanitarian mentioned that was really moving to me earlier. He spoke about how our ancestors knew that we would not be good listeners sometime, or that we would not be listening. And that's why they made these proverbs and just left them behind for us to, when we decide to not be in an argument in a burning house, then we would begin gaining some knowledge from these proverbs. That's something that is going to, stick with me for a while. Now, before we wrap up our session, I just want to make sure, Digital Humanitarian, we give you a chance, if you're available, to share your tip. And if you're not, I'm just going to say a few things to finish our session for today. Excellent. It looks like Digital Humanitarian is not available. If you're just joining us, this is an incredible conversation that we have every Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we've been doing this since January 2021. So we've been on this for a while. It would never be possible to do this without the help of Johnny Nogood and Jay, who are some of the original moderators for the Daily African Proverbs. I remember in the early days of the Daily African Proverbs, we used to have 7, 6, sometime even 12 moderators. And we are a community of people that, love African culture and believe that through these kinds of conversations, by lighting the village fire and sitting around it and having these conversations, we deepen our relationships and we transform our communities and we really make the world a better place. So that's the kind of space that you're in. That's the kind of podcast that you're listening to, if you are listening to this somewhere. But also there are things we do in real life. For example, the Madaraka Festival, which I've been producing for 8 years, in Seattle and also in Kenya. It's happening on August 13th and 14th in Seattle, and it's also happening virtually. It's going to be live streamed on YouTube and also on Facebook. If you want to be involved with this incredible event, let me know through my DM, or let Lavender know through her DM, and we can include you in the planning team. We are a little over a month to the event, and it's something really, really historic. This year it's 2 days for the first time at Pier 62 at literally in downtown Seattle, and it's just incredible to be able to do this for the 8th year running. We've been consistent, just like we are with the Daily African Proverbs. We've also been very consistent with Madaraka Festival. We're also consistent with other programs that we do, for example, the Education, Music and Art program in Kenya. So there's so much that we do, and we can't say it all in an hour. We just want you to, connect with us, send a DM, let's get on a call, on a Zoom call, and just figure out how we can deepen our relationships and make history together. So with that, we've come to the tail end of our time together today. And, remember to follow the African Father in America Club and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm extremely grateful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all for another incredible session. Our guest tomorrow is going to be Carol Ndosi. She's a journalist from Tanzania, and also the producer of Nyamachoma Festival in Tanzania. Thank you all so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Peace and love.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.